So good morning, everyone, again, and it's lovely to be back. Lovely to see all of you again. Um, and so for next few weeks, we will be going to do one particular text by Atisha Dipamkara. It is called Bodhisattvas Jules Garland, and Atisha was one of the great Indian scholar, master, practitioners. Around 9th, 10th centuries. And he was instrumental in reviving the Buddhism to its purity in Tibet. Buddhism came and then it declined and then it became polluted, like everywhere, due to the certain circumstances, situations, and then again, they invited Atisha, and he came and he kind of revived it to its purity. And so he has a very strong, he's a very, not only he was a great Pandit scholar, great practitioner, Indian scholar, but he was one of great instruments who played a role in reviving the Buddhism in Tibet to its purity, and he spent his last 17 years in Tibet, and he passed away in Tibet. He was born in India in a royal family, and then he studied, non-Buddhist, Buddhist, all of treatises. He was great scholar in Buddhist, non-Buddhist as well. And then at the age of 29, he joined and he became ordained, and then of course he became a great master. And he was not only just great scholar master, he was great practitioner who have developed bodhicitta and many high realizations. And so most of his teachings are on bodhicitta, as we will see, even with this one as well. So that is, without going, I don't know, should I? Yeah, maybe it might be helpful. He was already a great scholar and well known, in India. But the experiential teachings on the bodhicitta, even though there were teachings on bodhicitta, altruistic bodhicitta, mind, loving kindness, compassion, altruistic bodhicitta, even though there were a lot of teachings that he studied, he learned, from books, from others, but the tradition of experiential teachings on bodhicitta was not so available in India at that time, and he really wanted to receive those experiential teachings of cultivating the bodhicitta mind. And so at that time, he heard about one master now in Indonesia, and so in Indonesia, he heard about that master and he was very inspired and determined to go there and receive all these teachings and bring back on his own practice as well, to share with the rest of others. So actually, he traveled in the boat for 13 months from India to go from India to Indonesia. You can imagine in 10th century, 9th, 10th century, what kind of boat it could be, So he took such a risk. For what? For the Dharma, And it's not like he was starting from the very beginning. He was already a great scholar at that time. Very well-known teacher and scholar, and with a lot of disciples, But still, that is the, how much effort they put in order to really, for the teachings, for the Dharma, in order to receive the teachings, Nowadays, for us, forget about going 13 months, If we have to drive one day, I don't know whether we will be inspired to do that, Everything has to be easy, without having put effort. It's like we want everything on the plate without putting much effort. But if you really look at those great masters, how much. And then he studied 12 years with him. And then he received all the teachings, experiential teachings on that. And of course, not only he received the teaching, he applied, implemented, and developed all this realization and then he spread those teachings in India and in Tibet, and even in terms of going to the Tibet, he was requested many times. At the very beginning, he didn't accept, But later, when he heard about one of the king who was from the western part of Tibet, who invited him, and their sacrifice in order to invite him and revive the Buddhism, and he was very touched by them, their inspirations, their dedication towards Dharma, and he felt like he couldn't say no, even though it was not going to be easy for him. He wasn't young at that point, and to go from sea level to the mountains, Himalayas, in those times, with totally different culture, different landscape, different language. He doesn't know Tibet at all. Tibetan doesn't know Indian language at all, But he went because for the sake of Dharma, for the sake of benefiting and helping others, and putting his life in risk, in order to be benefited. And so that is a little bit, kind of, I wanted to give a little bit of that side of the author, just to know who the author is, who the Atisha is. If those who are interested to know his life more details, then you can find in Lamrim Chemo, at the very beginning sections of Lamrim Chemo, you can find very detailed life story of him. So this is only very. So I think, I think today we'll just start. So the title is called Bodhisattvas, Garland of the Jewels, So again, with that just title, this teaching or this practice is going to be about cultivating altruistic mind, the Bodhicitta mind, and the path of the Bodhisattvas, and the Bodhicitta mind and the path of the Bodhisattvas is like a jewel, that fulfill the wishes and happiness of oneself and other sentient beings. The Bodhicitta mind and the Bodhisattva path is that fulfill temporary and ultimate needs, temporary and ultimate happiness of oneself and all sentient beings. So there's nothing more precious jewel than that Bodhisattva mind, the Bodhisattva path. There's nothing more precious and jewel than that. So from the title, we know what this subject is going to be. The subjects of this practice is to the altruistic mind of the Bodhisattva that is rooted in loving kindness, true loving kindness and compassion. And that is the essence of the Buddha's teaching. That is the essence of the Bodhisattva's path, and that should be the essence for us as well in our life as well, to be able to live our life with as much altruistic intention as possible, as much as altruistic attitude as much as possible. Trying to live our life with as much as compassion as possible, as much as loving kindness as possible. Trying to live, as much as trying to cultivate and live life with that attitude of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva mind, as much as possible. I guess it seems, love, compassion, Bodhisattvas, seems to be more important even now than other times. When everyone is kind, compassionate, when there is peace, harmonious, there's less. But when there is too much division, when there is too much anger, resentments, disunities, all of that, the needs of compassion become even more important. Even more important. And I think that is the need of this time in this country, all over the world. All over the world. This is even becoming more needs of now. Yeah, we can do the refuge and Bodhisattva prayers. I think even though I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient. Sangye Jodam Soge Sonam La, Chanju Pada Tane. Nagi Choche Gibe Sonam, Dola Pente Sangye Doga, Sangye Jodam Soge Sonam La, Chanju Pada. Nagi Choche Gibe Sonam, Dola Pente Sangye Doga. So then, so there's the title, then there's the language. So I don't think the language in India, Bodhisattva Manya Bali, in the Tibetan, in the language of Tibetan, Chandrasan Nuputenwa, in the English language, the Bodhisattva Guardians of the Jewels. The actual text now start from here, the Atisha's own text. Homage to the great compassion, homage to the deities who inspire faith and devotion, homage to the master. So he started with paying homage to the great compassions, So again, because these subjects is in order to cultivate this practice and subject is in order to cultivate the great compassion and the bodhisattva. So first he paid homage to that. Just like Chandrakirti, one of the great Indian masters, that he paid homage to the compassion great compassion at the very beginning of his middle way, supplemental middle way, And as he mentioned in there, because compassion is very important beginning, middle, and the end. At the very beginning, compassion is like a seed, that give birth to the fruits, flowers and the fruits, and the branches and leaves of all the positive qualities, all the positive qualities, such as the Bodhisattva mind, all other altruistic intentions, and the practice of such as perfection, the Bodhisattva path, all of that, and then the result of the fully enlightenment. In the middle, so it's like a seed at the very beginning. At the middle is very important. It's like the water, you need to water the seed so that it can grow and produce. The same way, you need compassion at the very beginning of path, in both of the path, like a seed, and also in the middle, you need the great compassion to keep you on the path of Bodhisattvas, so that you don't get distracted, so that you don't lose the directions, you don't lose the path, so that it continues to lead towards the direction where you want to go. And it is the great compassion that keeps you. So it is very important also in the middle, throughout the path, throughout your journey on the path. And at the end is like fruit, at the end, once the seed has grown in the fully grown fruit tree, and then it produces fruit, and you are able to enjoy the fruit. In the same way, through that compassion and the path, you achieve enlightenment, and through achieving enlightenment, like experience the result of that, then you experience not only ultimate happiness for yourself, but then you are able to give and benefit other sentient beings endlessly. And what makes you to help others, what gives you the energy to be able to help others, is that compassion. Is that compassion? If we have compassion, we will be able to help others more. Not only it gives you a lot of inner joy, satisfaction for yourself, but you will be able to more benefit to others. If we don't have the compassion, then we all know, then even when we have the time, skills, resource to be able to help someone, we are unable to do that. Why we are unable to do that? Even though you have the resource, time, skill, all of that, when someone needs and you have all of that, because we don't have the compassion. Because there is not enough compassion. If there is enough compassion, then definitely, it will not hold you from helping and benefiting when you have opportunity to do that. And so therefore, at the end, that makes the Buddhas who work for the benefit of all sentient beings, after achieving the highest result, is the great compassion. The driving force is the great compassion. And so therefore, because great compassion is so important, at 3 times, therefore paying homage to the compassions, the great compassions. And then next, homage to the deities who inspire faith and devotions. I think here, Atisha is paying homage to all the deities, all the Buddhas, all the deities, but especially for his personal deities, And one of his personal deity is a Tara, And Atisha rely on Tara for many things, to make many decisions, even whether it was beneficial to go to Tibet or not, all of that, even on that, and so, as well as, what is one of the reasons that inspired him to go to the Indonesia to receive that experiential teaching of Bodhisattva from that particular masters, also through the Dara, and so it's through his personal deities such as Dara, that has inspired him and in his path to cultivate the great compassions, loving kindness, bodhicitta, and the whole path. And so, therefore, he paid. That is why the deity inspired him the faith, devotions towards the Dharma, towards the path, towards the practice, and therefore he pay homage to that. And then next, homage to the masters, So again, he pay homage to all the teachers, masters, all the lineage masters, all the lineage gurus, from whom he received all those teachings, and the practices, starting from the Buddha Shakyamuni until his direct masters, direct teachers, spiritual teachers and gurus. So he paid homage because due to the kindness of all of them, that he was able to receive those teachings. And having received those teachings, he was able to practice. And having practiced those practices, he was able to develop all these inner spiritual experiences or realizations. And through those inner experiences, spiritual experience and realizations, not only he was able to achieve inner peace and happiness, but he was able to be so much benefit and help to so many sentient beings. At his time, and he continued to inspire and be help even now, even after 1,000 years. And he will continue to inspire and continue to benefit for thousands and many thousands years, coming generations. And the reason that he is able to inspire and be so help and benefit for so much, like because by the power of great compassion and bodhicitta mind, is due to that great compassion and bodhicitta mind. So when you have great compassion, bodhicitta mind, not only you are able to help at that time, but you continue to inspire and help even when you are no more in this world for many, many coming generations, so many sentient beings. It's the power of the compassion. It's the power of the bodhicitta mind. And especially, he paid homage to all those lineage masters, and particularly his direct master from whom, Dhammakirti, that he received all these experiential bodhicitta teachings and practice, And again, from Atisha's own life story and biography, we can understand how much he holds so highly of that particular teacher. Because that particular teacher, even though he had 154 teachers in his life, spiritual teachers, masters, but it is said whenever he mentioned these particular teachers, Dharmakirti from the Indonesia, he has a special in his heart. He always fold his hand whenever he recite, remember that. Because it's through his guidance, teachings, inspiration that he was able to develop the Bodhisattva mind, great compassion, Bodhisattva mind, and Atisha understand that is the most crucial and precious among all others. And so therefore, he has a very special, he holds very, among all teachers, he holds very special of that particular teachers. So definitely he is paying homage to all the masters, and particularly to that master from whom he received those teachings. So then, next, having paying homage to the master, then, then he go in the practice itself, the practice. So, whatever form of practice, meditation we do, of course, different people have different form of practice, different form of meditations, And even in our case, sometimes we might be emphasizing on particular practice at a certain time, Sometimes maybe we might be emphasizing on loving kindness, bodhicitta, compassion. Sometimes maybe we might be emphasizing on wisdom, sometimes on other practices such as generosity and so forth, So different people have different practice. Some people, focus on mindfulness meditation. Some people focus on, Bodhisattva practice meditations or practice such as bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion. Some people focus on, certain kind of Vajrayana practices of certain visualizations related with that, and many other form of practice. So there are so many different practices. It doesn't matter whatever you practice, whatever you practice, you try to practice wholeheartedly, not being indecisive. When you are indecisive and not sure, then you are unable to practice whichever practice you are doing wholeheartedly. And if we don't practice wholeheartedly, then the result is not going to be so, the result is the practice doesn't become as effective as it could be, and it cannot produce as good result as it can or should. And therefore here, Atisha saying, be done with the doubt and indecisions, and embrace your practice with all your heart, And especially here, Atisha's the practice talking about the Bodhisattva practice. When we engage in the Bodhisattva practice, when you engage in the meditation and practice of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and all other Bodhisattva practices such as six perfection and so forth, whatever practice, try to practice, embrace the practice wholeheartedly, fully, without being two-minded, without being having a doubt and two-minded, Isn't that case also in any field, isn't it? If you want to succeed, not only spiritual, even in ordinary life. If you want to succeed, if you are two-minded, indecisive, it's hard to succeed in anything, So first, So in order to not to have any doubt and two-minded and indecisive, you have to study. Through study, knowledge, then you begin to have better understanding of that whatever practice, whatever topic, subject that you are trying to practice. And the more better understanding you have, the more conviction you have about that practice. And less doubt about that practice. And when you have less doubt, less two-minded, then when you engage in a practice, then it becomes more powerful, more effective. So that is very kind of important, Yeah. How can we clear the doubt? How can we clear our mind being two-minded, and not being able to make it, decisions? Is study more about that. Study more on that. The more you study, the more you learn, the more it clears the doubts. So while you try to do practice, when we try to engage into any kind of practice, especially here the Bodhisattva practices, then shake off your lethargy, dullness, and laziness, overcome them, So we try to practice without, lethargy or kind of sleepiness, when you are, even when try to meditate and even when we try to practice, and if we are kind of not fully fresh, awake, and kind of sleepy and lethargy, then of course, again, the practice is not so effective. Even you are not sleepy, your mind is not clear, dull, kind of dull. There's no clarity and alertness. So when there is no clarity, alertness, again, your practice doesn't become so effective or powerful. So in order to make your meditation practice, when you try to do practice meditations, try to be, alert, awake, and have some clarity, in your mind, And of course, overcoming the laziness, also all different kind of laziness, Not being inspired, not having the inspiration to practice, that is laziness, Due to physical state, due to mental state, due to both of them, sometimes, we are not inspired due to the laziness. Sometimes we might be inspired, but then we put off, thinking, oh, I can do tomorrow. I really want to practice. I really want to meditate. But maybe I can do evening. Then evening become tomorrow. And tomorrow become next week. So we keep postponing. That's another kind of type of kind of laziness, So due to all of that, then again, we don't practice. And we keep on postponing and so on. So in order to practice, we have to overcome all of them, And for the success of practice, then and start always with enthusiasm and joy, So when you practice, try to bring enthusiasm in that practice. Trying to find joy in that practice. Important factors too. If you enjoy your practice, if there's enthusiasm in practice, you wouldn't mind doing the meditation. You wouldn't mind practicing. And then, even when you practice for hours, you don't get so tired easily because there's joy in your practice. There's enthusiasm and joyfulness in your practice. On the other hand, if you don't have joyfulness, enthusiasm in your practice, even 10 minutes can be very tiring. Even 5 minutes might be very tiring. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes of meditation practice, you might feel burden, stress. But when there is joyfulness, enthusiasm in your practice, then you can do many, many hours of practice and still, you don't feel burdened, you don't feel tired easily, and it gives you more and more energy and more and more enthusiasm, more and more inspirations to continue to practice and continue to meditate, And so those are important factors in our practice, in our meditations, as well as in everything that you do, Very important factors, bringing the joyfulness, And same with when we're trying to help, benefit others, bringing the joyfulness, enthusiasm doing that, If you don't have that joyfulness, enthusiasm, then, sometimes later it can become it can turn into resentment, Even when you are trying to be benefit and help to others, So bringing that into the practice, I think we already spoke about that in the past as well, And I always say, we have to find a way to enjoy our practice and meditations. You have to find your own way to make it more joyfulness. Not being so rigid. You don't enjoy and you just try to push it. And then after some time you give up the practice and meditations because it could become stressful. But if you find joyfulness, enthusiasm in your practice, then even people ask you not to meditate, you will meditate. You will always find a way to meditate, time to meditate and practice. Because you enjoy doing that. Something that you enjoy doing, you always find a way to do that, whenever any opportunity arises, And so that is the key. There is no one specific way to make it joyful to practice. We all have to find our own way to enjoy our practice and meditation. We have to try, the meditation, the practice, this way, that way, right, left, center, all kind of things, and then you find a way, oh, this is how I connect and how I really feel it, and that is what. And once you find it, then you just try to do it, because that is where, instead of feeling I don't enjoy it because my teacher asked me to do, I have to do it. Or I don't enjoy it because I have this commitment, therefore I have to do it. Or because, because of so and so, but instead, um, so everyone has to find their own way to enjoy whatever practice meditation. Sometimes it might take a little time to find the right way where how that suits you and your mind, so that you can become more, easy with that practice, easy with that meditations, and you start to enjoy, but that is one of the key, so that we can continue to practice, we can continue to meditate if we find a joy in that, Mm. And again, I think it's same even in case of my father. He find a joy in doing his practice, in his whatever prayers, whatever visualization, meditation, recitation of the mantra. He find joy in that, and that keep on even at that age, even with his kind of health. He never kind of. That is what he might not find joy in having a social gathering with others, but he finds joy in his practice. And that is what he liked to do. He would rather doing his practice than going to meet another families and having a kind of social life. He doesn't like that, Or he enjoy more when he does his practice. So, and when you enjoy, even, sometimes you have to ask them, take it easy, rest, don't practice too much, don't meditate too much, take a rest, relax. You have to tell, because, and so that is, on the other hand, when you don't enjoy it, then finding a time and to do practice 10-15 minutes can be a struggle, despite having all the time. You might have 20 free whole day, but somehow you struggle to find 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes for your practice meditations. One day, it goes 1 day, 2 day, weeks, like that sometimes. And the reason, I think, why, despite having the time, why we struggle and why we are unable to find the time for our practice meditation is because, not being able to have enthusiasm and joyfulness in the practice itself. If we have the joyfulness, enthusiasm and joyfulness in that wouldn't be a big problem. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay. So I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I might stop here today. So maybe instead I can take some questions. If anyone has any questions, or comment from this morning or any others?
Thank you, Amanda.
Good morning, Geshe Sherab. I have a sort of a comment, I guess, question comment. When you were talking about compassion being like the basic motivation and loving kindness, I was reflecting on, my own attempt to do that. And when I'm in a situation where there might be some negativity around me, say some negative attitudes towards me, and I practice, as best I can, I realized that I was judging the success of my practice by whether those people end up liking me or not. And I realized, I think that's a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, because in that cases we are having a kind of expectations, and we should let go of expectation from our practice, result of our practice. When you let go of expectations, you started to enjoy your practice better. You started to become less judgmental on yourself or others. Sometimes we have expectations of what Buddhist is, expectations of what Buddhist is in terms of yourself or others. Then when you see someone who is not compassionate, and then you say, oh, how can he or she be Buddhist? How can he or she be so rude and Buddhist? Or just like yourself or ourselves, then we might think, oh, I'm not a good Buddhist, or I'm not a good practitioner, or I'm not a good person, because of all these expectations. Expectations lead to that kind of state of mind, unhealthy state of mind, being judgmental, too critical, too judgmental to ourselves, to others, all of that. And I think all this comes from a lot of expectations, And so without expectation, we just do the practice,
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, there is one question here. Do you have something tangible suggestion about how to cultivate joy and clarity in our practice? I guess, you put the water in front of you with some energy drink, and then you drink it to give you some energy and joyfulness. That will be the tangible, something tangible, tangible suggestions. Being kind of, sorry, I'm just trying to be a silly. I think to have more clarity, is more difficult for the beginner to have more clarity in your practice when you are exhausted physically. It affects your physical when you are exhausted, too tired, and that affects your mind, and then your mind become more dull and kind of more foggy and less clarity. And so Therefore, the meditation and practice will be best when you are less tired, when you are less tired physically or less exhausted, or before you have too many thoughts. Therefore, that is why the suggestions to meditate and practice the first in the morning before you do anything else. When you first get up, you are less tired unless you didn't sleep or something else. More in generally, you are, your body is less tired, less exhausted. You haven't started the day, and also, generally less thoughts. At the end of the day, you have gone through the day, so many things, and a lot of things come in your mind. What happened today? Your conversation, someone's response, someone's reactions, or your own response, reactions. They all come in your mind, and then, those things make your mind less clearly, and so therefore the best is, that is why it's always that all the teachers, they suggest, the best, if we can start the day, your practice or meditation in the day, if possible, so that is more kind of practical, more kind of practical. um, mm, mm. And also, sometimes when you are kind of a little bit kind of tired, sleepy, even having a kind of flashing cold water and kind of wake you up, and then you do the kind of practice meditation can be helpful as well. Maybe you might just flash some very, very cold water to awake you up, and then you start with the meditations. And with that awake, that can also help a little bit clarity to your mind because of your, yeah. And of course, having less thoughts. And in order to have less thoughts, whatever before you do the meditations, trying to do the breathing meditations to quiet all your thoughts. And once you have quiet all your thoughts, then when you try to meditate on whatever the main meditation, main practice, whatever you are doing, then again, since there's less thought, then you will have more clarity on that practice because you have been able to kind of clear and kind of settle down many of the other thoughts that you were having, and that is again also why we try to, whenever we try to meditate, whatever meditation, loving kindness, compassion, or any other form of meditation, we try to do the breathing exercise or meditation to clear and quiet the mind, the thoughts. So when there's less thought, and then the more clarity comes to the meditation, the subject that we're trying to do. And as far as finding the joyful, as I mentioned before, we have to find our own way to do. I've given certain example in the past with certain particular meditations, that I didn't find joy, I struggle, and then I try to do a little bit slightly different, without losing the essence of the practice, but I just try to change a little bit, and then I just connected, and I just connected with that practice by changing a little bit, and become more joyful because I know I was able to connect with that practice instead of doing it without being connecting, And so, yeah, there are certain visualization, that you find in the text, or that even I receive teaching from my teachers, And some of them, I struggle, a little bit of some of those, and I couldn't is connect completely. It's like almost like little kind of doubt or a little bit two-minded, and but then, I just changed very slightly of doing it, and then it just kind of connected, and then I started to enjoy it, So also again, so different visualizations has different way of. So again, the way I change it doesn't apply to everyone, because there are different visualization, and that could be same with the meditations as well. Um, for example, if you are meditating on bodhicitta, some people, if you are trying to meditate on bodhicitta based on a certain cause and effect, and that all sentient beings are our mothers, and they're all having kind. And for certain people, even they try to do it, they might struggle, and they might not connect, and they might, while they do meditations, but because they have certain reservations, because of their experience, or because of maybe about past and future lives and all of that, they might not connect it. And so they might not enjoy it because it's always struggle. But if they try like for example, equalizing exchange and self with others, for those, they might not struggle as much, and they might be able to feed them, connect them, and they might enjoy that more, like that, So different meditations, and that is why, again, I have mentioned many times, that is why even regarding to same practice, there are so many different meditations. And because some particular technique might be more suitable and effective to one than someone else. And we just have to try. It is just like medicine, trying medicine, which is more effective. For example, I always give example allergy, there are so many different fields. There are so many different treatments. And one particular treatment, one particular pills does not help everyone. And you have to try different things, different pills or different treatments until you find, oh, this is what helped. That is the one which helped with my allergy. And same with the meditations, different technique, different meditation techniques, even regarding with the same subjects. And so you just try to see. And then even with certain techniques, same, you just have to change a little bit slightly here and there, and that can make a difference. Okay, so any last questions?
Geshe, Heather had a question. Heather, do you want to go for it?
I think you actually largely answered it, Geshe. So thank you. But I think you read my mind.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll do the dedications. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depressions. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored, finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those who weep with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never acquire again. May the frightening cease, be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today, and have a good to see all of you. So nice to see, and hopefully we will be able to see in person soon. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Geshe Sherab.